Networking and building relationships, I would say, is what keeps your journey going, right? It's so important. It defines whether or not you're going to be able to get things done or not sometimes, right? And it's important to have your network, not just in your area of expertise in your industry. So, you might work in music, but you should have a network that extends beyond music. You should look at those relationships that you can build in sports and in fashion and in tech and in politics, because at some point, you're not always going to be in your same role. But even beyond that, because we're more than just our roles, we're more than just our titles. And our interests end up changing over time. And a lot of us are so multifaceted in our interests and what we want to do that the more you can expand and build your network, you're constantly learning about what is happening day to day. Like the world is shifting, the things are changing, and you have to keep up. And the way that you're able to keep up is really through the networking and building those relationships. And I would say a lot of times what's important too is knowing that sometimes when you get a call, you don't know why that person is calling. You don't know how crucial that call is to somebody and why they're making it. And so just keeping that in mind, I always think that it's important to consider, because when you need something, you're usually calling your friend. You're usually calling someone that you met, maybe was out a few years ago, and hopefully you stayed in touch with them to be able to make that call to where it doesn't feel so transactional. And as much as there is networking, I think there's also the point of networking that people forget is to know who that person truly is, not just what they can do and offer you in the moment. Because that's what really extends your longevity in your career. The 3 keys to my success and part of my journey, I will start it with 1, belief. I think you have to believe in yourself more than others will believe in you. Because at the end of the day, it's you and your vision and your dream and what I say God put on your heart. And if you don't believe, the next person might not believe, and they probably won't believe. And so belief is really important because it ends up driving your hustle and your passion and your mindset. And so belief is definitely number 1, to believe in yourself. Number 2 is discipline. I think a lot of people might lack discipline, or they don't want to do what it takes to get to their dreams. And sometimes that's for a lack of resource, a lack of belief, That's why I say belief starts first and everything else trickles in to success. But when you're disciplined, you have to decide what is your routine. You have to wake up every day and say, I'm going to go after this again. What did I learn yesterday? What do I want to achieve today? And it's like practice, you have to do things repetitively over and over to get better. And that's part of success, to be able to stay persistent and to continue what exactly it is that is set on your heart and your mind to go after. Without discipline, you're just going to stay in the same place. And then the third thing to success, I would say, is having authenticity of yourself and really owning that, right? I think there are times that people don't own who they are and what they've done, and that gets in the way of success, because what you show up with and are able to give is completely different from what other people have, Being authentic is, when you walk in the room, how do you leave people feeling? And authenticity oftentimes ends up beating talent, because when talent meets talent, what's going to end up, standing out? It's the authenticity, right? It's the ability to connect with people, to make people feel something. And so those are the 3 things for success for me: belief, discipline, and authenticity. The mindset in the industry in any sort of role that you're trying to achieve and be great at, it's important to have a healthy mindset. It's important to know that you have to lead with having a positive mindset, but also realistic, and also having a mindset that is looking ahead into the future. Because it's not enough just to know kind of what's going on today. It's what is going to be happening tomorrow, right? It is knowing that the mind, and this is something that my trainer that I work out with, because for me, like working out helps my mindset in terms of like having a positive mind. So he always says that the mind quits before the body does, which is telling to where, and his name is Michael Myers. He has ingrained that into our minds because it's so true that there are times where you want to quit, but you're still here, like whether it's working out or it's literally you're putting in hours upon hours working in the office or on the grounds with an artist, or when something doesn't go your way and your mental will quit, but your body is still physically here, physically present. And there are times that's why, my trainer who shared that quote with me, he ends up pushing us more than what we thought we could. And I think that is a prime example of like when you're measuring your success, it comes down to also your mindset of how you're able to push through during the times that you're tired. Like that shows what you're made of. When you can go ahead and say, listen, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this, but then I don't think I can do it. But then you get that extra push, whether it's from a mentor, a friend, or you have it within to say, I'm going to go, 10 times harder. I'm going to give it another, minute before I quit or before I stop doing what I'm doing. And you end up doing it. And it all starts with the mind. And the mindset is so reflective of what is happening like within our bodies. I think it's in this industry, like we're around liquor and drugs, and there's so many things that are happening on a day to day. So it's important to be able to protect your mindset and protect how you're thinking and approaching not only just your career, but life in general, because there are things that sometimes you get derailed by your environment, and your environment, if they have the wrong mindset, you can adopt that same mindset. So you have to stay anchored. I always say you have to stay anchored to your core. What were your values and what got you to this place of success? Just pull on those to get you to a place when you start to doubt yourself. What keeps me motivated in creating opportunities or pushing boundaries, I would attribute it to the artists that I've worked with. And I say the artists that I've worked with because they inspire me. I've seen artists do things for the first time of their lives. I've seen them face certain fears, if it's anxiety of having to actually like sit down and do an interview and it feels like it's interrogating or intrusive, or, they don't want to get up for a certain reason because they're dealing with some personal things, or, really having to be put on the spot in front of a bunch of people and talk to people. They have no idea who they are, but everybody knows so much about them. And they face those fears. And I've been lucky enough to be able to be inspired by seeing those things firsthand, like learning how to hold the microphone for the first time, and get better and improve. And so that motivates me because I know that if there are ways for me to go ahead and help them in some capacity, like it only serves a bigger and better purpose. And then I also stay motivated by the executives that I get to meet and interact with, like their managers, right? I've been in the corporate space on this side within these buildings, and then I'm dealing with managers who haven't worked in the corporate, arena, and we're trying to figure out how to work together in the best capacity and do what's right for the artists. And I get inspired by the calls that I'm on when they're fighting for their artists and saying, this is what I know. And there are sometimes there's layers, to these conversations, and there's layers to decision making and why decisions were made, and who has the final decision. But their actual, their relentlessness to go ahead and say, no, this is what I see. This is what I'm seeing on the ground. I know that this artist needs security when we take them from point A to point B on promo, for example, or I know I'm going to fight for my artists to make sure that they're getting their glam and their makeup done because we're being asked to go ahead and travel around the world. There's things that I've seen, like managers, whether it's, QC with Coach and P, or I've seen grade A, like there's Peter and Bibby and G Money and like those guys and the LVRN team, like all these teams that are really putting together like what's best for their talent, and they're being vocal about it. And if they're not vocal, then nothing is going to get done the way that it needs to get done because they know their art is best, right? And so the relentlessness of a lot of managers and these young label executives that are starting their own independent labels, like that's really motivating and inspiring for me to create opportunities. And then the fans, the fans and the people who get to experience these moments that they might have never been able to experience because they might be in a small city like Portland, Oregon, or they don't have the resources and the access to be able to experience these things. So that's what motivates me, and to create these opportunities and, to push through certain boundaries. It's the artists, it's the executives, and it's the fans and the people. I'm Sierra Lever, and I am a culture builder.